Okay, everyone, welcome to this week's edition of Military Trailblazer Office Hours. Thank you for taking time out of your Wednesday evening to spend it here in the spirit of community, mentorship, and learning. I am your host for today, Geraldine Hall, and I am joined by Dave Nava, needs no introduction. I am a customer success manager at Salesforce and a military trailblazer. Each week, we invite co-hosts or co-hosts to take part in the conversation so that we can leverage their experience, expertise, and unique perspectives. The focus for tonight's session is leveling up lessons learned from a CSM or customer success manager. So I may be a little bit partial to this topic, working with some of my great colleagues here, being able to interview them. So if you have ever been interested in the customer success manager role, finding out more about it, this is definitely the session for you. So just take a note of our upcoming sessions here, sharing my screen real quick. Next up, we've got career transitions and then skill translation and role exploration. So looking forward to those upcoming sessions. Okay, so I would like to take a moment to welcome and briefly introduce our co-host panel for tonight's session, Brandon Nivens, Earl, LaChance, and Ryan Wilson. Unfortunately, Hillary could not make it today. She is in our thoughts. She is here in spirit with us. Brandon is a customer success manager at Salesforce. He is also a Navy veteran, which I do not hold against you, Brandon, I promise, and the global events lead for VetForce. Earl is a customer success director at Salesforce. He is also deeply invested in AI knowledge, completing an executive program at MIT for artificial intelligence, implications for business strategy. And last but certainly not least, Ryan is a customer success manager at Salesforce. He is also an Army veteran, go Army beat Navy, hiring our heroes alumni, and a former collegiate gymnast at West Point. So not only can he give you some great tips on how to be a CSM, he might also be able to teach you how to do a backflip. So it is so great to have you all co-hosting office hours with me. Welcome. So we'll go ahead, take a few moments here now for you all to just do a little bit more of an introduction of yourselves and share your Salesforce stories. Brandon, would you like to go ahead and lead us off?
Awesome. Thank you so much. And as Earl mentioned, I do want to see that backflip, Brian. We are probably on the same team, so I will follow up with you. But welcome, everyone. My name is Brandon Nivens. I've been at Salesforce. It'll be 3 years. February 1st. If you know anything about Salesforce, our year ends in January, so I'm following that. I love it here. Before I was at Salesforce, I was a customer success manager at Zoom, was there during the pandemic, so I can tell you all about that, can tell you about the movie that we wrote that will hopefully be something. I can tell you who hopefully will play me. Other than that, I'm happy to be here, and yeah.
Awesome. Earl, would you like to go next?
Great. Thank you, Charlene. My name is Earl LaChance. I'm director here at Salesforce in our customer success group, and I've been with Salesforce for 9 years. And been working with Brandon. It's great to see some folks that I've worked with along the way, Nelio and David and such. So thank you for inviting me. I come from a military family. My father was Army, and he was very proud when I worked at USAA, where I was the only civilian on the Salesforce project team, reporting to a staff sergeant from the Marine Corps, which, let me tell you, that project ran like clockwork, and I loved it. So, yep, there you go, Elio. So my pleasure to be here and share with you some of the ins and outs and positivity of being a CSM. Back to you.
Thanks, Earl. What a fun story, too. Okay, Ryan, over to you.
Thanks, Geraldine. Yeah, so like she said, I went to West Point, graduated in 2018. I was in the military doing signal work, so basically IT project management for about 8 years, and just moved from Korea to Seattle and started working at Salesforce about 5 months ago. So very, very new hire, still learning the ropes of it and all. But before that, I did a Hiring Our Heroes fellowship with Slack for about 3 months, which is what led into the CSM role at Salesforce. So excited to share my experience.
Amazing. And I'm sure you all will talk about this today, but Ryan's networking ability while he was doing his fellowship was amazing. I know he had discussions with a lot of people during that time. So really great to have you all here with us. So for those of you that are joining for the first time, I'm just going to briefly introduce the purpose of these office hours. These sessions are an informal get-together for gathering with military trailblazers and allies to explore non-technical Salesforce career and branding-related topics to help you achieve your professional development and career-related goals. This next hour is intended to be an opportunity for collaborative mentorship, and everyone on the call is encouraged to step up and help answer questions from your perspective. This helps us provide additional diversity of experience and really helps provide some color to the answers that are given. So please make sure to keep an eye on the chat window. My wonderful colleague, Dave Nava, will be posting some important links during today's call. They'll include learnings, networking, and employment opportunities. If at any point during today's call you would like to ask a question, please feel free to do so. If you do not feel as comfortable speaking up, you can also post your question in chat. And Dave and I will do our best to be monitoring that chat. And we'll also be looking for any raised hands throughout the session tonight. Finally, tonight's session is being recorded. So if you would like to share an attribution-free comment, please let me know before speaking, and we will make sure that it is edited out of the final recording. Without further ado, we are going to dive right into the questions here. So let's talk a little bit about what it means to be a customer success manager at Salesforce. I, once again, may be partial, but this role is pretty central to building strong customer relationships and driving success for our customers. So what does a day in the life of a CSM, also known as, I may call it CSM, but Customer Success Manager, the acronym we use at Salesforce is CSM. What does a typical day look like for you? And we'll start, let's start with Ryan, and we'll go in reverse tenure at Salesforce. So we'll go Ryan, Brandon, and Earl.
Thanks. Yeah, I was hoping to go. So I'm going to focus on kind of the first 3 months of coming into the CSM role, since Earl and Brandon are going to be able to talk a lot more of kind of the long-term what it's to be a CSM. But coming into the role initially, it is a ton of self-learning and shadowing, like a ton of that. The first 3 months is basically onboarding. So they give you the whole onboarding checklist, you do all that, but it's just a lot of Trailhead, learning the software if you've not already like integrated into Salesforce, getting the 4 required certifications, which I'm sure you guys have kind of dug into a little bit of, just like admin, service cloud, kind of just depends on your customer. And then lots of shadowing calls. So you'll have your team that has all their assigned customers, and getting to meet all of your team is one thing, but then also just asking to shadow their bi-weeklies and then like different engagements with their customers, so that when you run and take your own customer about 2 or 3 months in, you've at least seen it and kind of know who to talk to in your team in order to get help. So that was kind of day-to-day in the first 3 months. Once you have your customer, you start working with them a lot more, but I'll let Brandon and Earl talk about that.
I like that. I like how it's going from like new to middle to like, I'll say seasoned for Earl. I like to joke with Earl a lot. So I've been here about 3 years or so, and I'm on the MuleSoft side. So while it's a little bit different than maybe like Sales Cloud or Marketing Cloud, the overall feel is really the same. So 3 years in, kicking off where Ryan left off with 3 months, maybe 3 to 6 months in, that's really when you start specializing on the cloud that you're on. So I'm on the MuleSoft side, and to sort of take the word that I said from Earl, you become more seasoned on the cloud that you're in. So that means taking more than maybe the 101 or the associate certifications, especially for MuleSoft, really digging in on that. It also can be really trying to take on more of those architect engagements that we have. We have a lot of technical folks here at Salesforce, but maybe if your customer has a lighter lift question, maybe digging a little bit deeper and finding out, well, what's the why? Like, why are you asking that question? What's it solving internally? So you're really trying to flex more of that consultative muscle instead of just, getting recommendations or requirements from them and then going back to support. You're really trying to make yourself be that strategic partner, and we like to call a trusted advisor to the customer. And a lot of that also comes with, I think Ryan's really good with this, networking. Maybe you're starting to work on a project with a customer where it's not just MuleSoft, it's now a Sales Cloud type of project that they're doing. So I need to reach out to Earl and start maybe working with him, because then, I'm not the only CSM. I'm working with two. So then you start becoming more curious as well on, hey, what does Earl do on the Sales Cloud side? How can I become better at MuleSoft as well with incorporating some of these different things? So it's really the learning starts kicking in a lot more. And I remember when I first started, I had a manager that told me, you're probably going to get your footing around year 2 and year 3. That's really when things just start clicking. I'm at the end of year 2, beginning year 3, and I will just say, wow, a lot of things really started making more sense. And I feel like I'm actually I'm a lot more strategic with my customers as well. So you really start learning and flexing a lot more after you kind of do the onboarding side. And I'll let Earl talk more about that because he's done all the AI certs.
All right, good afternoon again, Earl LaChance here. And what Brandon said is interesting. It is about being a trusted advisor, and first and foremost is you're a customer advocate. Okay, so and if you do a CSM role at various companies, it's really about advocating for the customer, which can put you at odds against some of the other folks internally. But first and foremost, you're making sure that they are reaching their goals. So what's it about? It's about return on investment. So in this economy, it's a subscription. And if the customer sees value and you help the customer realize that value, then they're going to renew. Okay, so when you think about a CSM, in a lot of ways, it's about that customer maintenance, that account maintenance, to make sure that the customer is achieving success and therefore they renew. Therefore, you keep the ball moving forward. You could expand the footprint, you can get different clouds, and you can have more engagement from them. But that involves two things, and two things that I love about working with military men and women is that, like I mentioned, alluded to my USAA work there, which was mostly, for whatever reason, it was mostly Naval and Marine Corps folks. But it was not only the discipline, which is something you need to have to make sure that you're disciplined, not only in your learning, because if you don't know the platform, you're not going to be able to help the customer, right? You have to understand how these gears turn, how it works. You don't have to be an expert in every functionality. We have specialists that will jump in and bring and augment, help you out when you have that specific challenge. So you don't need to be an absolute guru in all these different areas, but you need to have a general idea of how all these clouds work and how they fit with the business priority of your customer. Okay, that's how the customer is going to see their value. Which brings me to a final point, is orchestration. So it's another thing that I've seen that a lot of the military men and women I've worked with is they excel at that. It's going to the right folks, realizing that you don't have to be the one person that embodies all of this information. Okay, and that's why when you're in the service, I know that you have people with different MOS, you have different areas of expertise that you can leverage. And that's part of being key as a CSM, is making sure that you understand, hey, there are folks out there that know how to do X, Y, or Z. I'm going to bring them in. I'm going to orchestrate this effort to make sure the customer realizes that value. And so that's something that you see day in and day out. I know that Geraldine didn't quite hit upon a day in the life, but those are kind of the key elements when you start talking about being a CSM.
Yeah, a lot of great points there, and a lot of areas we're gonna dig into a little bit, Brandon, here shortly, with the collaboration across teams, and Earl, that value realization. Before we kind of pivot into those questions, Elio, you have a question or a comment? Oh, you're on mute, Elio.
Sorry about that. Just a quick tidbit or history for folks joining the call for the first time. Salesforce actually established the customer success role in all of its whole structure. The division used to be called Customers for Life. As Earl mentioned, you have a prescription service that at any time, if a customer is not seeing value, they can easily walk away. So Salesforce actually invented and evangelize and really season the customer success role. And it's funny, I used to be at Salesforce, but I attend a lot of these events and I hear people talk about customer success. And it's great to hear a lot of what made that role exciting and successful. It still stands today. So I just wanted to share that with the team so people understand customer success. It's part of an industry, but it was started by Salesforce and it's still going strong, which is pretty awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely one of the foundations for Salesforce and has been just pivotal to our success, I would say. But once again, we may be a little partial being customer success managers, right? Okay, so Brandon, we're going to dig in a little bit into what you talked about with cross-team collaboration. We call them account teams at Salesforce, right? There's a group that really comes together to support our customers. So can you start us off with talking a little bit about how you collaborate across internal teams so that our customers are getting a unified experience and we're coming together as one Salesforce?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of that is, and especially in my role, I saw a lot of chatter with public sector. Of course, I work in public sector, so it's amazing. It's definitely still very new at Salesforce, which I like, but a lot of great strides are happening. So what I do on the MuleSoft side with that as well is really try to, not still try, I'm still doing, creating still the signature package. We'll get into signature success plans later, dropping that Easter egg. And really what that is really trying to understand, hey, a lot of what core Salesforce, AKA, sales clouds, marketing clouds, what those products do and how those CSMs manage their portfolios, how can we do that on the MuleSoft side and still be a value add and not just replicating something that, Earl could simply do on the Sales Cloud side for his customer. And a lot of that really is asking Earl, hey, how do you run an architectural design engagement for a customer? Getting that and really trying to plug in, okay, this is how the Sales Cloud way is doing it. How can I do this for MuleSoft? Also for MuleSoft or whatever cloud I'm working on, how can I make sure that maybe I don't have a perfect relationship with that customer yet? I noticed that Earl does. How can I position myself to get into that call, prove that I am valuable, and be on that team as well? Because just because the customer is paying for it and just because they're, paying for my services as well, that doesn't mean they have to meet with me weekly. They can simply go back to their manager and say, we're not meeting with Brandon, cancel signature and MuleSoft with them. Whereas if I have advocates like Earl and other CSMs like Ryan as well, we kind of go in as a more united front, and it's no longer the separate clouds. It's what we've all heard before, the one Salesforce. We're all showing up, and that way it's really showing, oh, I have 3 CSMs here to really make sure I'm going to value. I'm not just having one person. So that's a long way of answering it, but that's kind of why I like to do the partnerships, because it's more advantageous to you as the CSM to really start doing that, because then the account team starts knowing who you are. You're not just a lone wolf.
Yeah, great points there. Ryan, Earl, either of you have any additional thoughts you'd like to add?
Quick. Pretty much everything Brandon said is like amazing as the CSM. Like totally agree with that. I think the biggest thing that the named CSM like us at Salesforce is for the customer is that like one person to go talk to though. So like we have all these relationships within Salesforce and know who to talk to get stuff done. That takes a lot of time and effort from us to know all those people. And so that's kind of where we provide value for the customer, is making those connections. Because if they didn't have us as like the one person to like the entire ecosystem of Salesforce, now they would have to build all those relationships, which takes up a lot of time. And so kind of understanding that, and then again, going back to value of like explaining to your customer what you're doing and showing the value there is what the whole collaboration is all about with the customer.
Yeah, and I was going to just to add to that is, it's also about knowing boundaries. So when you're working with your customer, if they have a tech support situation, okay, let the tech support team manage it. So you want to make sure that there's the boundary of the sense of, you're there to offer strategic ROI discussions, talk about getting value from the system. But on the same token, you're not there to, go in there and solve their technical support problem. So, they always say, good fences make good neighbors type of thing too, though. So it's not trying to be someone you're not at the same time. So understanding, your limitations, still being that point of contact, still being the trusted advisor, but of course, allowing the others, to run with the ball when it's their turn to take lead. And so knowing that, and that's something that's a touch and go, it's an art, not a science, here at Salesforce and elsewhere. I've heard the same stories from folks that had gone over to Microsoft or Oracle, but it's something that, making sure you set the right expectations up front makes everyone more successful in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to that piece that you spoke about earlier, Earl, orchestration, right? We oftentimes are the ones that are reaching out to others and supporting others. And we're kind of that thread of really understanding the customer, because we're there through all the issues, all the problems. We understand their business, and really being there to be able to provide that business impact that whatever the issue is might be having on our customers. So we're there really to be those advocates and to orchestrate all of those amazing resources that they have. Okay, so we are going to pivot just a little bit and get into signature success plans. So Brandon, I think you mentioned this. You gave us a little teaser that we're going to talk about this. So signature success is really at the heart of our customer first approach. It's proactive, it's personalized, and let's talk a little bit about what signature success is, that for the individuals on the call that might not know. So let's see. Brandon, I'm going to kick this one to you as well. Can you kind of explain the different levels of success plans that we have and what makes signature success stand out? And then we'll go over to Earl after you.
Yeah. I love this because this is being recorded, so my manager might see this. So hopefully I do a good job. But we have, I know, especially on the MuleSoft side too, but with Salesforce, we have Premier, and then we also have signature success plans. Underneath Premier, I forgot what the name of that one is. I don't see many lower Premier plans. I'm in MuleSoft. It's a developer-heavy platform, but there you go. Standard, Premier, and then signature. So signature for me, and I always tell folks, signature is it's the VIP service. It really is. You want to do all the things, not only press go, you want to know everything about Salesforce. You want to be able to speak at Dreamforce. You want all the best seating at all the events. You want to know what we're doing. You want the Salesforce bus to come to your company and really help transform things. Signature is going to be the right package for you. Now, say Premier, if you are sort of dipping your toe into Salesforce, but hey, I like the trailheads that we're doing. I'm loving the transformation that we're seeing internally, but I think we can go a little bit faster. Premier is a decent one for you as well, but that's also, I'd say, the starter to signature, because once you have a taste of Premier, you're going to want more, because a lot of the signature folks are who you see at a lot of these major events as well, that are telling the stories on how Salesforce helped transform their company. And I've had customers that have been a little bit sometimes on the fence with signature, but they end up seeing the light. And I always say, they drink the Kool-Aid. And when I say they drink the Kool-Aid, some have even started putting on the Einstein wigs. So they love it. And they're kind of seeing, oh, wow, you don't only have access to like an architect. I can get you access to product if you need. Not all CSMs can do that, but that's something, as Ryan mentioned, you work those relationships. That's what you need. Let me get that person. You want maybe a better discount at certain events. Let me see what I can do, because you take the time to talk to me. Let me help you and your company get the best out of the platform that you're investing in. So as you see, signature is really the top tier, and you get someone like me, Earl and Ryan, who are just super happy to work with you and really get you what you need. So if that doesn't sell it, I don't know what will for some folks. Earl, over to you. Hopefully I teed it off.
No, well done, Brandon. You're going to get your commission now for that one. That's good. Good stuff. But also, there's different services too, entitlements that you get with signature that you don't get at Premier or Standard. So there's also not only, what I like to think is the best benefit is having a named CSM. So you get the person that knows your business, works with you on key performance indicators, tracking value and ROI. But also, I just had SEV1 at a customer, SEV1 tech support case. And there's a swarm of tech support agents that occur. So we have the swarm opens up on Slack. You have 3, 4, 5 people looking at this SEV1 problem, including the CSM. And they're doing their work, and you give them the latitude to do their work. But the same token is that's something that you get with signature, where it doesn't get just tech support case goes in a queue and then someone picks it up within an SLA. You know, when you're in signature, you really have this incredible white glove service. And that's the biggest difference. So if you have a customer has a complex implementation, lots of integrations, mission critical, you know, it's a no-brainer for them to make that investment in signature. Just because these large enterprise companies that we all know the names and we see advertisements on TV, you know, we have to make sure that they have critical uptime, and that's what signature provides. Whereby Premier, you still get things like expert coaching sessions, you get additional attention, you know, better tech support than with versus standard. But it is, as Brandon said, a kind of a good way to, if you have a customer that's wetting, you know, getting their toes wet and getting started. Signature is really it's almost a requirement if you have a very large enterprise implementation to get things done correct. Ryan, what's your thoughts?
I think you guys covered signature at Salesforce really well. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of a sidestep and say that the difference between customer success with the signature success plan at Salesforce and like other companies, even like Slack, who just got acquired pretty recently, is a little bit different. So like at Slack, there's CSMs for every single customer that buys Slack. And if you're like one of the smaller customers, you're basically thrown into this large bucket where there'll be a CSM that manages like anywhere between like 20 to 50 different accounts. So it's like there's definitely not as much hands-on as there is in the signature success plan at Salesforce. So if you're looking at customer success at other companies, just kind of be prepared for that it may be more floaty. You might have a lot more accounts versus at Salesforce. The CSMs are like a paid for asset, and you are like assigned to specific customers that you are working for, and you get to build those relationships versus CSM at other companies may not be as like tied to a customer as Salesforce is.
You know, yeah, no, Ryan, great point. You know, Uncle Mark, as we call him, he likes to buy companies. So we have a lot of different clouds that have some slightly different bends that you may or may not have heard from your friends in your network. But we are standardizing to our model that Brandon and I spoke about. And if you come in, if you're looking to work at Salesforce and you want to join Customer Success Group, if you come in as a specialist, if you have an area in the cloud that you're really good at, that is interesting to you, the specialists are shared between Premier and Signature, so that you may come in and do some consultation or deliver an expert coaching session. Now, mind you, things change often here at Salesforce, but generally speaking, CSM is not the only in to get into Salesforce in a customer success role. You know, AKA some people say it's really like post-sales consulting in a lot of ways, but you can come in as a specialist. Of course, you could always come in tech support if you're of that mindset. But a specialist, it's not just the CSM role. There are different roles that you could look at. Geraldine, back to you.
Yeah, that's a great point. The customer success manager role falls within the customer success group at Salesforce, which encompasses a lot of different roles within the customer success group. So there are many different ways to be able to be in a customer-facing role, providing that guidance, that consultative type of communication with customers. Customer success manager is not the only one. We may be a little partial to it, but anything in the customer success group, I would say, is very exciting, and no 2 days are ever the same, because you are really sitting in the middle of pre-sales, post-sales. You're doing a little bit of everything, and you're getting to know a lot of different areas and roles and jobs and challenges just by sitting in the customer success group. So for me, it's been great. You can kind of see if there's an area that interests you the most, you will get some sort of interaction with that as a customer success manager. I promise you, we touch almost everything at Salesforce and probably have one of the most well-rounded views of the different roles in Salesforce, of all the positions, honestly. And Brandon, Ryan, Earl, I'm sure you all agree. So it's a great place to be in, to really understand the full scope of what Salesforce has to offer. Okay, so we are going to ask one more question before our photo. I think we can get one before we take our photo. So one of the things that Earl, you touched on a little bit is these high stakes or mission critical type of situations for customers. So can you talk through a little bit, Earl, we'll start with you and then go to Ryan. What have you learned managing these high stakes situations with signature success customers?
I got something in my throat. I'm gonna have to pass this to Brandon. I don't know what went down.
Okay, Ryan, do you want to take it first? Go ahead,
Yeah,
Ryan,
Brandon,
and
I'll
we'll
pass
go
it to you
Brandon.
real quick.
Yeah, I can take it real quick. So I'm gonna first be upfront and say that I've actually not had to run a Sev1 or a critical event yet as a CSM, but I have sat in and kind of shadowed as it goes. And I honestly was expecting the CSMs to be a lot more involved in actually like finding the solution and fixing it. But like we were just talking about, it is really being like the gateway into Salesforce. You are making sure that the customer is getting the information they expect because the engineers are just trying to fix it. Like you've got this whole team and this whole swarm that's trying to fix the problem, and they may overlook sending information to the customer. Even if they don't overlook it, the customer may just want more information than they're like technically entitled to. And the CSM is where they step in and make sure that information gets to the right people within their customers. So like whether that's the executive side, the engineers, or their admins, just knowing the right people with both the customer and Salesforce and making sure that information like flows to the right people is really your biggest role in that event.
Well,
Earl, if you're good.
Amazing that you have not had a Sev1, right? That means things are going A-okay.
I know.
So that's fantastic.
I've gone lucky. Yep.
Yeah, you're too lucky, man. You had a few
You
more years
jinxed
to give you
yourself.
some different accounts. I've had
Oh, I know. Yeah, in 6 months I'll probably have like 3 or 4. Yeah.
yeah, it happens. But I like what you said though, because being the voice, for example, when you're in the CSM role and you're talking to and you have relationships with the vice president or the C level, then you're not necessarily going to, they're going to want to know what's going on. If it's Sev1 and things are out, the contact center is not being able to work, salespeople can't close deals, quotes can't happen, etc. You need to be able to articulate exactly, here's what's going on, here's the impact, and here's our path for getting out of impact. So that's why we need to be close to it. But as I mentioned, let the swarm team do their job, let them figure out all the right proper next steps. However, you need to be close enough to it so that you can take that phone call from that C-level that invested millions of dollars in Salesforce to be able to communicate. Here's exactly where we are, sir, ma'am. We're dealing with ABCD, and these are our next steps. Brandon, you deal with MuleSoft. MuleSoft is nice and stable, so you don't deal with that much, but
We are nice and stable, I will say that. But Ryan, I remember when I first said that, oh, I haven't had a Sev1 yet, and the next day I had a Sev1. So I'm not jinxing you, but yeah. However, on the Mule side, I will say I agree with everything that's been said about Sev1s and watching out for the critical events for customers. I'm going to take it a step further. I feel like whenever a Sev1 happens, that's when the gospel of the CSM is being preached. Everyone wants to find out who the CSM is. If they don't have signature, they magically are about to buy signature because everyone's wondering, oh no, I don't have an Earl, I don't have a Ryan, I don't have a me on this account to help out with things. So on that same notion, I enjoy when these things happen because you have a whole team here that folks that are newish to CS, customers, I mean, that are newest to the CS motion, they don't know that Salesforce has this whole army of people to really make sure things get fixed. So I do love when they see that because they see that, oh no, Ryan from engineering is here calling and sending hourly bulletins on what's going on. Oh no, Earl's here and is set up a Zoom link to have literal conversations about, hey, engineering's doing this. Can your engineers try this? Because they've heard that from me for so long. And I've always said, hey, make sure you interact with support, try and flex that muscle. Yeah, Brandon, we'll do that later. When that Sev1 comes, they start seeing the magic just start happen. And again, I don't love Seb ones that much, but I do like when folks see, you know, oh, you have a whole team here that's going to make sure things aren't falling to the wayside. And as the CSM, I love how Earl was mentioning it. I kind of have my checklist on, okay, this is the problem. This is when it went down. This is when it's going to get fixed. I will give you more information as soon as I get it. I will be proactive. Let me be your advocate. And that's usually when, you know, the customer also starts seeing, oh, wow, he does have my best interest in mind. He's not just trying to sell me something. And you know, I tell people, even though I'm from the Navy type thing, that is, you know, that is the code red, like all hands on deck. And for me, it's battle stations 2.0. Again, a lot of analogies on my side. You got to make the day go by. So I sometimes enjoy when that stuff happens.
Yeah, love that, Brandon. And Ryan, your comment about it's really an opportunity to build trust. I always talk to my leadership about these are kind of make or break moments, right? You can really solidify the relationship and the trust if the customer sees that you have their back, you're working toward a solution, you're able to really orchestrate those resources to get the customer out of impact as soon as possible. So absolutely, I think it's a great moment. Elio has a comment. Matthew, I see your question. We will get to your question after we take our picture. So Elio, comment here, and then we'll take our picture.
I just a quick comment. Somebody asked about, I think it was Ryan, about how do you prepare yourself for this type of, actually it's Matthew. So Matthew, just to give you some confidence, I was in the field artillery in the Marine Corps, furthest from tech, and I built a long and successful career in tech. I actually spent 10 years at Salesforce, so I'm an alumni. Everything that you learn in the military is actually very essential to your success as a customer success manager. As you heard from Earl, and you know, in the military, especially some of the roles that we have, you're talking to cadre, right? If you're an enlisted, you're probably going to talk to the CEO, you're going to talk to other units, you're going to work in your own unit or in your own section. So all of those skill sets about communicating, being impactful, reading the room, understanding, like you heard from some of the newer folks at Salesforce, hey, what's a red account, right? You know, when you're doing a mission, whether it's in peacetime or in war, there are certain protocols that you follow to be effective. All of these things are going to help you be successful in customer success. Yes, there's nobody shooting at us in the tech world, but there are expectations from our customers, right? And as a good customer success manager, you need to be able to understand all of the moving parts. And you need to be able to understand not only how do I communicate to my leadership, but who else in my customer side I need to communicate to. Is it another engineer that I have to give them a 2-page review of the testing? Or is it a leader that is expecting a 1-line answer, right? Executives have to make a lot of decisions just like a CEO would. So you need to be aware that, hey, for this type of leader, I need to make sure I have a summary of what's going on over a whole description. If for those of you that are in the Air Force or in the Navy, when you take a plane apart, right? If you're in charge of a jet and your CEO comes down, he's going to expect a different answer when he asks you, you know, what's the problem, over another chief that's trying to give you some help with tools. So just keep that in mind. It's really everything that we learn in the military applies to the CSM role. It's one of those roles that, yeah, I've used every muscle from the military in my customer success space.
Thank you so much, Elio. We will get into the panel's thoughts on this as well, Matthew, here in just a minute, but we're a little bit over the midpoint of our session. So before I forget, because I am notorious for forgetting these things, let's go ahead and get a group photo for sharing on social media. We always want to be branding. Part of the wonderful thing about these sessions is that we have that opportunity to really be able to brand and show that we're actively engaged in the ecosystem. So we will plan on posting this on LinkedIn and Twitter also known as X now, tomorrow, and we'll tag everyone in the photo. So if you only have your first name showing and you would like to be included and tagged, please feel free to go ahead and put your full name in the chat window now. I'll give everyone just a minute to do that if they would like. And then I will get us prepared for the photo. If you would like to participate in the photo, go ahead and come on camera at this point in time. And I'll give everyone just another second, like I said, to go ahead and get their name added if they would like. I'll get my screen maximized so we can see everyone's smiling faces. All right, looks like we got everyone. Okay, so I'll give you a countdown in 3, 2, 1. Okay, I think I got it. If not, I know Dave Nava is always the best at getting pictures. He always gets my backups. So we will go ahead and dive right back into Matthew's question. So Matthew, you had asked, and Elio, thank you for adding your input here just before our photo. Matthew had asked, how can someone transitioning out of the military best prepare themselves to take on a CSG role? And maybe we could speak, we have some idea. Earl, you talked a little bit about some of the other roles, but let's maybe focus on the CSM role for now. Ryan, go ahead. You are the closest to this, right?
Yeah, I just did this. So kind of going off of what Elio said, like, yes, all the skills are very applicable, but like, what do you do to prepare? Going in with that, in order to like understand how your skills are applicable, you need to talk to people. So like, talk to as many people in the customer success group as possible, because like, you could like believe that what Elio said is true and that your skills transfer, but until you really understand the role of a CSM or a job that you're interviewing for, you can't really like make those connections yet, even if you know it's true. And so by talking to people and really understanding what they're doing, you can like actually make those connections. Like we were just talking about all the SEV ones and the critical events. Honestly, it's really similar to any critical event in the military, especially if you're an officer or even a higher enlisted. You're just coordinating between people and making sure like your CO, the people that are actually working the issue, have the correct information, and then like gathering that information and then spreading the knowledge to the people that need to make decisions. It's the exact same thing. It's just in a very different environment is all it is. But you can't really talk that until you understand the role and what you would be doing in the job as a CSM. And to do that, you talk to people, like sitting in this, like reach out to Brandon, reach out to Earl, reach out to me, reach out to Elio. He knows it too. Like, and just talk to us, just have conversations. And then you can really start to internalize it and be able to talk it more.
Thanks, Ryan. Brandon, go ahead.
Agreed 1,000% with what Ryan was saying. And to even take it a step further as well, I think we all know this because we're partial to being at Salesforce. Salesforce is a networking company. So network. Like you have to talk. Not saying that you don't talk, Matthew. You asked that question, so you're probably a talker, but you got to talk to folks. Be very curious, extremely curious. Probably curious to where people are asking you what is wrong. What all do you want to know? Because this role, if you're not curious, it's gonna show and it's not gonna be good. Another one, you probably know this. I think Elio put it, Trailhead. Keep getting the certs. Something's going on internally, which is really good. I personally like it. We are moving back to a sort of certification CSG org. That's not to say if you don't have a cert, don't even try. What that means is always keep learning more in the platform, because I think that was paused a little bit sometimes, but keep doing that. And then lastly, let's see, what's another one? I had a really good one for you as well. As Ryan said, kind of reach out to folks and learn what's going on. I'm not sure if you'll get this as well, but we do have an insiders program. Google it for Salesforce, join. When I first was going through my interview process, I decided, you know what, I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid and try this insiders program. It ended up being very good because I met a lot of people that I still see when I work here today. Another one as well, you get to really learn what CSG is at Salesforce and you start picking up on the skills and kind of seeing what they look for in that role. So hopefully that leads you somewhere. I mean, that was a lot. Earl,
Yeah,
anything
a
to add?
couple. Oh, yeah, I was going to add a couple of things here, Brandon, that you had brought up, and Earl has been bringing up in the comments. So certifications, right? Do you need to have them? Are they disqualifiers? I believe now, right, on our job description, on job posting, it doesn't say it's required, right? But you have to look at Salesforce itself as a company gets a whole bunch of applications, right? A shocking number for each job posting that there is. So how can you help yourself stand out? One of those is certifications. Ryan had mentioned this, right? We have a set of certifications that you're expected to get depending on your role, your cloud, your specialty within a certain period of time. Part of your job is to make a hiring manager feel like you are not a risk to them. And so the faster that you can hit the ground running, the less risk you are to a hiring manager, because they're taking a risk by hiring someone that they don't know necessarily. And so you have control over a certain portion of that, and those certifications is one of them. Because if you're going to be able to be customer facing faster than someone else because you've completed those certifications already, that is a value add to the hiring manager. So definitely something to look at. Don't shy away from those. Like Earl said, take the darn test. It's okay to not pass it the first time. That is okay. Probably Dave Nava is the only one on this call who has not yet, knock on wood, unless something has changed, failed a certification exam. The rest of us have probably failed several. I can speak for myself there, right? So don't be afraid to take it. It is okay. I know we can be perfectionists coming out of the military. It is okay not to be perfect. And there's nothing wrong with failing the exam. So don't be afraid of that. Yes, Brandon, 8 times the MuleSoft exam. That is a seriously technical exam. So I can only imagine how many times I would fail that one. But there have been some that I've failed twice. Like, it happens. It is okay. Grow, learn, continue toward your path of getting to where you want to be. The other thing is referrals. I know you've probably heard this before, Matthew, but referrals are really important at Salesforce. You have a whole group of people here now that could serve as referrals for you for this role. So definitely something that you want to try and do. Try not to just apply for roles. Try to get a referral and have those networking calls, like Ryan said, so you understand the role when you're going in and applying for those roles. But if at all possible, referrals, and the veteran and ally community at Salesforce is very strong. So reach out to one of us in the community to give you advice and to serve as a referral for you. So yeah, I think I do like, Ryan, what you said around, like, you can handle these situations. I think at times, I know myself coming from the military, having been in the Army, it's quite interesting because a really bad day sometimes at a customer is a really good day in the military. Really bad days in the military can have pretty high stakes, right? And so there are times where I think you have to match the energy of your customer, because we are always taught to be calm, cool, and collected, which sometimes can come across as, oh my gosh, do they even care, right? And that was something that was hard for me to wrap my head around coming out of the military, is how do I show that empathy in a way that my customer will understand and be open to? Because calm, cool, and collected is great in like very high pressure situations in the military, but sometimes it can come across as, maybe they just don't care. So knowing that audience, just one point that I have found in my time as a, yes, calm but not detached, Brandon. Exactly. Earl, anything you would like to add here?
Sure. So I even tell my friends that are in the sales side of life, go get your admin cert. So the first certification is the gateway to all other certs. It's called the Certified Administrator. It does not mean you want to be an administrator. It does not mean you want to do configuration and set up screens and do page layouts. It means you know how the fundamentals of Salesforce work. And the folks that I've referred that got hired even as an account exec, which is fancy title for a salesperson, get the admin exam, and guess what? When they have 400 people apply for that job in the first day, guess what the first filter is? It's like, who knows the platform? Who has Salesforce experience? Who has a certification? And all the Salesforce folks that took the admin exam, they got hired. And I'm not going to mince words with y'all. I'm telling you straight. Okay. You get certified, it proves that you know the fundamentals, and it will open the door. Hands down, no question. You do trailheads. Trailheads is for practice, and doesn't show, in my non-humble opinion, it doesn't show anything, because anyone can go and do it and take a trail and take the little 4-question quiz at the end. That's fine, and you have to do it, but it's taking the exam. It's passing it, and then, because it's a 90 question, it's or 65 questions, 90 minutes, right? And they're not all easy, but the administrator is fairly, you could study, I would say, 2 hours a night for, say, 2 weeks, take the exam, $200 to take the exam. If you can retake it twice, I think. Maybe they charge you $100 to retake it, some lesser fee to retake, but it's not that bad. For all you all that, like I said, had your MOS, had your specialty in the service, you can do it. There's no question. Everyone on this call has got the aptitude to do it. But it's something that don't shy away, because it will open the door and it removes all doubt. Why go into an interview where the person interviewing you may have a doubt if you know what you're talking about, right? So sorry, I'm a little strong on this opinion, but I think it's worth your time, is my point. I see Elio's giving me hands up, so thumbs up. But yeah, it's definitely, there's too many applicants. I mean, look on LinkedIn, you see someone open a job rec, and all of a sudden it says, it used to tell you before, remember, if you notice this from my LinkedIn friends, it used to say like 300 applicants, the job's been open 2 days. Now it just says 100 plus, right? Because it's ludicrous. I mean, it's so easy to apply for jobs nowadays. You got to distinguish yourself from the other applicants. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Absolutely. No, could not agree more. I got that question a lot, because I maybe came into the customer success manager role, originally success manager role, a bit different, right? I came in like Ryan through Hiring Our Heroes, a little bit of a different program, but I worked with a partner for a bit. And so I was technical hands-on implementing Salesforce solutions, and I would get questions. Well, now that you are a success manager, you're not working hands-on super technical, would you go back and do anything different? And I said, absolutely not, right? That foundation, that base, that understanding of the platform, that opens up so many more doors for you. So if you become a customer success manager and you say, oh gosh, like maybe this is not for me, I really miss the hands-on building. Or I think I'd like the hands-on building. If you didn't have that baseline, that admin certification, those additional certifications for you to grow from, I think you're just making your journey a bit harder. So I would say definitely lean into it. Like Earl said, it doesn't mean you have to be an admin. You get to kind of choose your own path, but by not getting some of those baseline certifications, you're closing doors prematurely, I would say, and making your path a bit harder. So Earl could not agree with you more. Okay, we are going to pivot to give Earl and everyone on the call a chance to talk about AI, because it's top of mind for everyone, right? AI is everywhere. If you have not interacted with AI yet, you probably just didn't know that you've interacted with AI, and you actually have. And it's transforming everything that we do, including customer success and how it's delivered. So before we get into our final closeout question, I'd love to start, Earl, with you on this one. How do you envision the role of a customer success manager evolving in the next 5 to 10 years with advancements in AI?
Sure. I'll keep it quick, since I just got my passionate exam speech out of the way. You hear a lot about agentic AI. Okay. Now here's the rub. Okay. One, and this is going to apply to us as CSMs or specialists in CSG or any kind of consulting, and also to the customer. So knowing this is going to help you do your role with the customer. That you need clean data. Okay. Once you have the clean data, and we have clean data about our customers, I work here, I'm in Miami, Florida. I have some of the cruise lines as my customers. They have clean data. Now your LLM can work in concert with your clean data, behind the security wall to make sure that your data is not exposed. But the combination of having that, generative AI, access to clean data, correct data, can then help us do our job on the inside. Tell me everything I need to know about this cruise line customer. What is their install base? What kind of software they use? What is their, it's getting back to, machine learning with predictive modeling. What is a chance of churn, chance of attrition? What is the next best action? Okay, some of these areas, these are the things that AI is providing. Okay, it's obviously not mind reading, but having the proper data and having the proper prompts that we build, that we do with Einstein AI and now with Agentforce, it really is an incredible time saver. And I'll share with you one tiny story, is that back when the electric calculator came out, way back in the 1950s, everyone said, oh, that's going to be it for the accountants. They're all going to be gone because now we can do math right away on our calculators that we have here. They didn't go away. We have more accountants than ever. Okay. And so the reality is it's a tool. It's not going to replace you. It's not replacing anyone. Okay. We save that for Skynet and what was that? Our Schwarzenegger movie, right? Okay. Worry about that in the year 2100. For now, it's a tool. It's going to help us out. It does help us out already on the inside, and the customers love it too, because when we go to the cruise lines, you have an agent doing agentic AI, answering questions, looking at that customer's profile, looking at their purchasing behavior, offering up the best product, the best offer at that time, and then executing upon it. These are just awesome. I mean, this is incredible functionality, and it's going to change a lot in the next couple of years. But as an internal employee, even if you're a consultant, you're on the outside, it is something that's going to make your job a heck of a lot easier and save you hours of research by using the system, using the data, and leveraging the AI. Brendan?
I am loving this, and I even have to make a nod to what David said in the chat. Basically, chances of AI replacing humans minimal. The reality is humans with AI experience are replacing those who don't. That is happening very fast, and I'm not saying I've seen it internally, nothing like that, but I've seen even some with few customers. But with that, where I see the CSM role going, definitely clean data is probably what's going to make our job very crucial. So, not just Salesforce, but other companies as well for CSMs, you're going to have that clean data to make your CSMs effective. The next piece of it, I am loving where it's going, because as Earl was mentioning, we can now start asking Einstein, hey, on what level do you think this customer is going to attrit? And it's looking at actual engagements that have been going on, actual support tickets that have been going on. I love that. I can sometimes ask Einstein, hey, can you draft up slides for me for this upcoming meeting? And it will, depending on your prompt, that's a prompt builder super badge plug, so take that trail. But depending on your prompt, it will actually give you really good slides that I just need you not really copy and paste, but move the content over, make it look Salesforce nice. And I've really done that within an hour, which used to take me probably 3 hours. If you can't tell, I'm not the most creative guy in the world. I don't like making slides. I hate putting pictures and scrap things. AI can do that for me, and it looks amazing. So you got to use that. And even with our role, I am seeing, even with some of my colleagues, it's very obvious who's still doing things the old CSM way and who's really using technology to go at warp speed. I hate for all the futuristic puns, but I do love Star Trek, so yay. It's very obvious, because some folks are spending hours and days finding content that really should take you probably 30 minutes now, with using a lot of the AI features that we have internally in Salesforce. So with that, continue to dive into AI, even if it's quote unquote scary for you. We are probably 400 years off from anything happening remotely harmful to you with AI. So please become a CSM with an AI assistant. If not, you will be the assistant to the AI.
Yes, absolutely. And Ryan, I am not going to cut you off, but we had one question that Dave Nava brought forward to me. I want to make sure we answer it before we get to final call to actions. But the certifications, baseline certifications for CSMs, it will vary, right? Ryan kind of talked about this a little bit. It'll vary based on what you're supporting. Brandon has a little bit different expectation as a MuleSoft CSM than maybe a core CSM like I have. So I'll just speak kind of generally. Admin, sales, service, if you're looking at supporting the core platform, and then AI associate, which, by the way, AI certifications are free. through the end of 2025 by Salesforce. So if you don't already have that one, make sure that you get that one, speaking of AI. But those are kind of from the core standpoint, the core platform standpoint, the certifications that we look for CSMs. Okay, so we are going to do our final parting words, call to action. I know we are right at time, but if you were to have one final call to action for the individuals here that are present or will be watching this live, if they are interested in becoming a customer success manager at Salesforce, what is one call to action that you would give them? We'll start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, so my one call to action is on a networking piece. Like all the certs and everything are super, super important, but if you apply for a role and have your admin cert, you're still going against 50 other people. If you have your admin cert and you've networked, you're now on the top of that stack of 50 people with the admin cert. And that's where you want to be. That's exactly where you want to be. The other thing I'm going to say with that is when you're networking, the very last question you should ask is there anyone else that you think I should talk to at Salesforce or in the CSM role? Because then you just start like webbing out and like talking to everyone, and you're going to get all these referrals, and it's going to be much easier to make those introductions. So just do that. Learn about the CSM role by networking. It's my one plug.
Awesome. Earl, you want to go next?
I second that. Well said. Network, reach out to folks that already have it. Everyone here is some of the best, like super cool colleagues. I'm sure anyone will take your call, but reach out, find out all you can.
Brandon, close us out.
I love the networking. To even go further as well, I don't know why I've been saying that a lot this evening. I think I need to start using that phrase more. Have a plan. And with that, even if the plan isn't, even if you don't know what the plan is, or if you go into a meeting with Earl and the plan just doesn't make sense, have a plan. I always tell folks when we meet and they want to know about being a CSM or Salesforce, I'm a nice guy, but I sometimes don't like when folks just say, tell me all the things. It's like, have somewhat of a plan, because that shows as well that, hey, you are prepared for this, and you're not steamrolling in a bad way, but you're going for it. That's what I did for my interview. So I tell folks that just have a plan and just be ready to drive. There you go. Drive that conversation, because folks internally will pick up on that. And that is something that I found is a crucial skill here. Drive the conversations.
Amazing. Such great advice from everyone. Before we close, I just want to take the opportunity to thank Brandon, Earl, Ryan. Thank you so much for co-hosting tonight's session with me. It has been so awesome having you all here and getting your perspective on the topics that we discussed. So many great nuggets that you have passed along to our audience, and that will live in perpetuity through our wonderful YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Yeah, with that, thank you so much, everyone, for attending today. We hope to see you at our next session in 2 weeks, and have a great rest of your Wednesday evening.
Thanks, everybody. Stay safe.